Okay, boys and girls, are you ready for another fun adventure? Fender Stage Lead 2, 2-12. Alright then. Got a lot of knobs on this one. They kind of set it up like a twin reverb, but I don't know about this stuff. Clicker switch? Okay. Anyway, needs a bath. Let's go around the back. No, it's dark back here. Sorry, let's rotate it. Maybe you can see. There you go. That helps shine some light on the situation. So it's got a reverb pan in the bottom. It's got two Fender musical instruments. Special design speakers. Exciting. Let's see. And it's actually missing a panel here. It's supposed to have another one of these rectangles, so making a Tolex covered rectangle shouldn't be too hard if we decide to get this all ready to go. Two fuse holders. One is flapping in the breeze, the other one's nice and tight. Line input, line output. The reverb plugs in with RCAs. Speakers kind of look like Eminence, but see, what's the code on those? Those say 021302. Oh no, and then 678604. 67860. We'll look that up. We'll see who made these speakers for fun. They look like Eminence, but you know, this is a Japanese made amp. These might be, you know, something else. So there's the Tolex is in good shape. Everything's just dirty, and there's some cooties down there. So what do you say we turn it on and see if it explodes? Let's see if input beat. It's the same thing. Okay, there's a little bit. A little bit. That volume slider is really crackly. Okay, so there's something. It's showing life. Let's try channel B. Sounds good. Volume at half, master at half. Turn up some gain here. It makes very, very soft buzzing sounds. I mean, really soft. One would think it would be louder. Does it just hate my cable? Let's try a guitar. Okay, so all I hear is fizzy sounds. They're really fizzy and crappy. Let's try back to channel A again. And oh, that's max volume, and I barely hear anything. So let's try to really get some volume out of this. Let's turn all that stuff up to the 10s here. Let's see what we get. Oh, I have a very low volume, fizzy, nasty sound. Well, I turned the distortion up to 9, 10, 11, 12. So when I get amps that do this, the other alternate thing one can try is you can try to put your signal somewhere in the effects loop, because these input jacks on these kind of had a habit of potentially being rubbish. So let's see, on the back we have preamp output and power amp input. So let's go into power amp input. Okay, that's more sound. That's a lot more sound. And both speakers make sound. So woo woo woo. That's interesting. I got more sound now than I did when I first flipped it on. How weird. So I get some sound out of here, so yeah. I'm guessing, this is just a pure guess, but I'm guessing the input jacks might be jacked. So I guess we get to pull the chassis and see what we have. Okay, kids, so we're in. This one fuse holder that's spinning has been spinning for a while because the wires that go to it are all wound up. These are the ones that protect the speaker. So somebody thought it was a good idea just to keep spinning it for fun. Surprisingly, it doesn't look like they broke the wires though, so for what that's worth. Anyway, nobody cares about that. Alright, let's start by, I couldn't even find my best meter. You know, it's my best meter because it says best on it. It's a cheap import, but this is some generic electric meter that I got at one of the auctions, the same kind of places I get these guitar amps. See, you can get this stuff for whatever. So let's check some fuses. Our speaker fuses are probably just fine. It obviously turned on, so I don't need to check our fuse there, but let's check the speaker fuse. See if I can actually reach it. Reach. Come on. Yeah, we're fine. Okay. So if you're checking fuses with a voltmeter that doesn't have a continuity beep, you should get a reading of, well, an ohm or less. In this case it reads like 2 ohms, but that's because these are cheap crappy leads, and if I actually create a dead short I get like 1.5 ohms, 2 ohms. So, yep, so we're fine there. Fuses are not blown. The input jack type they've got here, this kind of looks like those 80s, 90s panel-y kind of jacks. And if you go back in history, we worked on a bass amp that was from a later era, and that had the same kind of thing going on. I can't tell if those traces look like they might just be miffed, or if the traces aren't miffed, then the jacks themselves are miffed. Let's give that a little wiggle, see what we see. That whole board just bounces around. That's great. That's high quality Fender engineering there. Oh yeah. So are those caps loose? We're going to pull this board out and inspect it. I have a feeling that's where our problem lies. I don't think our guitar signal is actually getting into the preamp circuit. When I inject it straight into the power amp circuit, I get something. So let's go off of that assumption, and we'll pull all these caps and slip this board back so we can flip it and have a look. Okay, so I'm going to just pretend I don't see what I see, and I'm going to test the input jacks here. Plug my cord into it. I'm going to guess tip is going to be like back here, and that'll be ground probably. So let's try that with our cable. Let's see if those are any good. But I see something that's just glaring at me, and I am concerned it might turn into a rabbit hole. Okay, so let's see. That's definitely not tip. Oh, that is. Okay, that's tip. And that's tip. So these two are tip. That might be switch maybe. And then what are these? Like maybe ground? No, that's also tip. Okay. And okay, so let's check sleeve, which would be ground. And that'll be, there's the ground, okay. And that's not, so that's, what's up with that? Some of these might just be to hold it in place. But that's ground. Hey, what the heck, did I lose my ground again? There, I got it, okay. Alright. So, I think that should actually work. Should actually work. But you know, I noticed that the lights for channel A and B weren't kicking on, and that concerns me a bit. Let's see, this jack, yeah, there's our earth. Let's try our tip, which we found over here on the other one, right? Okay, is it not over here on this one? No, it is. Okay, so the jacks actually seem okay. So now we gotta regroup. So it sounded like when I injected sound straight into the power amp section I got something out of the speakers. It wasn't very loud, but it was a guitar signal into a power amp. What do you expect? But flip it over, we've got a burnt resistor here. Now what is this resistor? It's hard to even see what the insignia on it was. I don't know if I can scratch burnt resistor off there, maybe read it better. Okay, yes, that's R60. Okay, so that's R60, and the board is called FEK8501001-P. Nobody's got schematics for this son of a gun. The Japanese Fenders are such an adventure. But that resistor looks like it comes over here to like where the preamp and the power amp connect to each other. So let me see if I can determine a value for that. Somebody might have just, put way too much signal in this, or shorted something out, or did something stupid. But that's our burnt component anyway, so let's see what we can do to deal with that. Okay, I have not found the official schematic for this, but I'm going to go on gut instinct. I'm going to still triple check myself and try to figure this out. I've got this R76 or whatever. This is like a 1 ohm resistor, like a fuse, and it goes to this assembly here that jumps over to the power amp. Well, here's a match one right there. That might just be a 1 ohm resistor that went out of tolerance, or something happened to it and it went buzz zap, and a resistor's 2 cents, so we can try like a 1 ohm resistor in there and see if it catches on fire. I'm still going to try to look that board up a little bit more. Okay, so we're back after digging around through a blurry, crappy looking schematic. I'm pretty sure that was 100 ohms, and it supplies the negative. It's like the fuse resistor for the minus 22 volts to this board. So if that went poof, there's probably something horribly wrong on this board, and we're going to be snuffing out a lot of components, but maybe it was just dumb luck and a bad day, or bad power, or something dumb. So I put a 100 ohm resistor in there, a nice small value that'll go poof, or a nice fairly modest wattage that'll go poof again in short order if there is an existing problem. And I suppose we should slip our board back in here if it'll go. Whoever engineered this is nuts. They dropped all of these washers that are too big, or these nuts that are too big on these pots, as spacers. And it doesn't make any sense. This is like so... This is wanky. This is why some people hate you, Fender. I'm telling you. This is why the 80s amplifiers all were thought to suck ass, because you led the way at sucking ass. So, anyway, let's try to get this junk lined up so I can at least plug it in and see if it's going to catch on fire. Okay, so it's kind of sitting in place, and let's make sure our volumes are all turned down, and then we'll turn it on and see if a big puff of smoke pops out of it. Yeah, granted, this is dumb, but I'm just trying to get done fast. Okay, here goes. Watch for the puff of smoke right about there. I don't see it, but the channel B light is on. It's back here. The board's kind of dropped back so you can't see it. But the channel B light is on, and the A, B lights weren't on before. Okay. Where's the switch? It's sitting under here, I'm sure. Alright, there's the switch for A and B. Let's see if that does anything. Okay, so B is lit up. You'll just have to take my word for it. Maybe you can see the LED. Let me switch it over to A. Hey, and A lights up. So A lights up, B lights up, back, forth, back, forth. Whee! Let's see if this resistor is like smoldering hot. No. 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 It's not smoldering hot. It's not even like warm. I set it off the board a little bit. So what did somebody do to this? I don't know. But okay, so at this point I guess we'll go. I have to somehow jerry-rig a speaker into this because the speaker leads for this are, you know, just clips. So I'll engineer it onto our test speaker and see what we can do. Okay, I've got our cheap speaker here. When I flicked it on, it went crack, which kind of makes sense. Plug into input A. Input A is on, and the volume is turned to zilch. I don't hear much. Okay. This lead can kind of be rubbish too, so it might be the lead. Let's try input B. Let's see if that makes any buzzy sounds. No. Okay. Did our resistor get hot? Doesn't feel hot, but that doesn't mean it didn't go poof already. Oh, okay. Now I have both channel A and B on at the same time. Is that because I plugged into B? Oh, yes it was. Okay. So if I go into input A, can I switch A and B? Oh, yes I can. Okay, so there's A. Okay. And there's B. And by all accounts that should be pretty loud, and it's kind of like not existing. One of these was the tip for input. Let's check if our little baby resistor smoked, but I don't think it did because I got, you know, I got A and B lights, which I didn't have before. We made a little bit of progress. Let's keep digging. Okay, so we're back. And there's children screaming murder upstairs. It's lovely. Okay, so I did a little bit more poking and prodding, and I seem to be getting some nice kind of preampish noise, but this thing should be loud, and it's not loud. So I tried the, you know, coming in the back here into the power amp output and doing the thumb on the tip or whatever, and it's no louder than it was coming out of the preamp. So my focus changed over to the power amp, and what I have sort of discovered is that this is the rectifier. It has a lot of power. It supplies power after being rectified. It goes past these capacitors and then to these resistors, which are 5 watt, half ohm. They're fuses. They're big fat fuses, basically, for, you know, for the transistors. About 50-ish volts off of this go past the transistors. 50-ish volts here. No volts there. Why are there no volts here? So that's what I'm going to discover. Why are there no volts over here? Join me. Okay, kids, we're back, and we come with a droning analog noise. Okay, so this is just a signal generator on one of its lowest settings. The preamp board, apparently the only thing we really had to do to it was that the 100 ohm resistor that was smoked. That got this stuff running. I was right in that. The reason the power amp wasn't working was because the jack for... Let me shut that off, that's annoying. The jack for the effects return, you know, they have an effects loop. The jack for the effects return was train wrecked, and it was disconnecting the preamp from the power amp. The schematic that we got for this, I'll link it in the description. It's ugly. It's kind of blurry and crummy and not easy to read, but so what I ended up doing was I did a phone a friend, and he could, essentially it was kind of a tag team. He could tell me what to probe at where, and we injected a signal straight into the power amp, and it sounded, that's what it did, it sounded. And that worked, and so then we went to where the preamp comes in through a resistor, and it wouldn't sound. So it's like, well, there's your problem. So I hunted around, found a Switchcraft that's, obviously a better quality jack than the plastic hunk of junk they put in these from the factory. There's that hunk of junk. You can throw that thing in the river. But yeah, the amp works now. The pots are really, really scratchy, so I'm going to clean all the pots, and then we'll put it back together and give it a listen. Dear Lord, I hope the reverb works, because I haven't tested it yet. Okay, so now that it's fixed, it needed a 100 ohm resistor on the preamp board and a new jack on the back from the effects loop, because it was disconnecting the preamp from the power amp. I have the chassis kind of loosely in there. Well, I shouldn't say it's loose. It's got the screws in it, but it's not tight, because I'm going to have to disassemble this to clean it and finish repairing it. What I've discovered is you've got channel A, which is just a volume, treble, middle, bass. It's like a traditional clean channel on a Fender amp. And presence and reverb are applicable to channel A, so that's probably really loud for that, and this is just a really loud channel, so I don't think the master does. The master doesn't affect channel A. Let's turn some reverb on. Go up a little bit more. The pots are quiet too now. I had to spray a bunch of cleaner in there. Yes, I use Max Pro. Brad the Guitologist is using Max Pro now, because some other YouTuber used it. That was me. I'm a dealer for it. Thanks for telling everybody to go buy it on Amazon with your affiliate link. Not that I'm bitter. So there's our reverb, right? Works good. I would have thought it would have been a little stronger, but got a little bit of surf drip. That works well enough. I'm happy with that. Cool. So I guess now we'll just turn the reverb back down, and we'll try channel B, which should be the gain channel, I guess. So we'll put some volume there, and some, put the volume up, and we'll put the master off of next to nothing here. Okay. There's the master a little bit. And this has treble, 2 mids, and a bass. Okay, this actually is, this has a more pleasant sound to it than the other channel did for me. It seems to have a little bit more drive going into the reverb too. Okay, that works fine. So let's turn the gain up here. Does that make it fizzy? This thing just wants to be loud, man. How does gain interact with that? It's kind of like a saturation, I guess. What does volume do then? A. I'm confused. Let's turn gain down and turn volume up. Okay, so I guess this gain, the knob labeled gain's more like a saturate, so not. I wonder if they borrowed this idea from Peavey. Hey, that's my classic solid state fuzz box. If I turn that gain up, it sounds like that Radio Shack PA amp. Actually kind of neat. So I'm going to have to figure out what everything this does, but it's working now. And the other thing it does, if you plug into input B, then I think it like separates them. See, A and B are both on, so you can have like one guitar in A and one in B, or like one stomp box in A and one in B, or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I'll try to see if we can find an owner's guide to it. Maybe we'll make a foot switch for it. But at this point, I'm going to give it a bath. And when I order parts from the parts store, when I go to fix the other amps that I don't know what I need yet, when I order parts, I will order some Tolex, and then I will probably make that back panel just so this looks right. But in the meantime, I'll give it a bath and try to get it looking as pretty as it can, but it's working like it's supposed to now. So that's great. I like that. That makes me happy. There we go. So Fender Stage Lead 2 II 2-12. It's got two 12-inch speakers in it, and it's made in Japan. And I have to put the knobs back on it. But it didn't work before, and now it does, so hooray. Thanks for watching. Look for this one in about 2-3-ish weeks, I guess. And we'll get this we'll get this polished up and ready for sale. We've already got it fixed. It's working right. Now it just needs to be polished up. Thanks for watching. And for those of you who watched till the end, my associate who helped me on this is potential fellow YouTuber Jamie out in Canada, up in Canada, New Brunswick. Hi Jamie, how are you? Thank you for your assistance. And get somebody to donate Jamie a camera. He's like a electronics mad scientist. I would love to watch some of those projects. Have a great day.